Hi guys, Alicia with Working Dog Radio, Torchlight Canine, and Oil Capital Canine Fund. Thank you guys for tuning in to another awesome episode. Please check us out on YouTube. It's a new format for us. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. We're going to start doing some training videos and some other cool stuff on there. So we would really appreciate your follow on there. We'd like to take a second to thank our amazing sponsors. Without them, none of this would be possible. So guys, please check out Kinetic Dog Food, 513-615-6904. They are amazing. Horizon Structures, everything mild to wild in a dog kennel. They have it. They will drop it off at your door. Give them a call at 888-447-4337. If you guys haven't checked out Highland Canine Training yet, what are you waiting for? Jason and Aaron are amazing. They've got all kinds of courses, classes, and schools going on. Please check out Highland Canine Training at Tactical Police, the letter K, the number 9, training.com. Ray Allen Manufacturing, right there in Colorado. Everything is sewn there. They are amazing. They do so many collaborations with so many of the actual working canine guys in our industry, including me. Give them a shout. Check them out at rayallen.com and use the discount code WDR10RAY for 10% all things Ray Allen. Dogtra.com. If you have an e-collar, if you use an e-collar, if you have a working dog or a pet dog, check out Dogtra. They've got all of the products that you need. You can go to dogtra.com and use discount code WDR10 for 10% off a single item over $200. Enjoy the episode. We'll be back. Thanks.
All right, everybody, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite from Canton, Ohio, sitting in the fun house while there's a bunch of tactical goons upstairs doing other stuff. My name is Eric Stambro. With me from Tulsa, Oklahoma is Ted Summers. Ted, what's going on?
Same SSDD, man. We posted a picture of your basement.
Yeah, with the grave in it.
Did anybody guess? Like, if you're listening to this and you saw it, like, on the social media channels, you're like, oh, where is this gravestone? Everybody hears me talk about it, and I'm like, I'm not going in the basement of Eric's place. That's what's down there.
Yeah.
So
somebody sent me a message. They researched it. They looked at it because they could see the and we were wrong. It doesn't start with an E. We're both like, yeah, I can't remember. It starts with E. No, her name was Avarilla. But anyway, somebody researched it and sent me a thing where there was some sort of like zoning requirement agreement that they kept one body here. And so again, we've heard that she's been moved. It's all concrete down there. And the only thing that those historical dogs have hit on is my bite suit. So that's how I knew I had to wash it.
It smells like a dead body. I get that. Yeah. Outside of that, I'm just apparently I've got more winter weather coming in, and I'm trying to get outside to track these new dogs, and it's not cooperating. It's been wet and windy and not easy tracking for brand new dogs. So I've been doing a bunch of the other stuff. I've been doing all my article indications inside and obedience and that kind of stuff. The yard is astroturf, so it's not muddy and not that big of a deal. But yeah, I don't like training dogs in the winter.
Yeah, it's
outside.
It does suck.
So at least police dogs.
I got this one handler class going on. It's a retread dog with a new guy, and it's going pretty good. But what happens is, not every day, but a couple of days a week, a handler will drop in. Hey, I know you're doing a class. Can I come in, get a little bit of bite work, do some out, do blah, blah, blah. So there's usually a couple guys here, and we're having a good time with it. I haven't yelled once, and it's been 1 week. So that's
I haven't yelled once.
I'm doing good. The kid's actually, he's all right. He's doing pretty good. The dog it's a nice, good, easy, biddable German Shepherd, So, yeah.
I saw you doing the tone avoidance thing.
Yep.
Yesterday
he already knew it. So that guy, the previous handler came through the seminar I had here at the fun house, but he just never used the e-collar. So the kid goes, so the dog has a great out on the toy. So we had Travis here Wednesday and we're doing bite work and he goes, yeah, he outs. No. I'm like, he made a fool of you. So he does now. We fix it in a session. But yeah, dog's doing good. We have him doing dope and it's all the new guy stuff. The funny thing is, so I noticed, I haven't posted a video of it yet, but I was recording him doing the heel work, right? I posted one the other day, but I have him doing the heel work. and he's doing real snappy, crisp turns and everything like I like. But I can tell that, especially on the right turns, the guy who had him before was blasting him on a choke chain as he was turning. So what's happening now, as soon as the kid starts to turn, the dog's biting him.
Checks out.
Tapping him in the pocket or biting him in the hand. And so if he taps stem on the e-collar, his same thing, right? So I said, listen, and you turn and he even looks at you, hit tone. So we started hitting tone, took it away. You know that you guys have heard me talk about this. I wrote a book about it. It's just classically conditioning. Tone as a warning to the dog that his behavior is going to get him corrected. Takes the punishment away from the handler, so the handler's not the bad guy. So, but you could see it was conditioning of that dog. Now on left turns, he doesn't do it. And I think it's probably because most guys, if they're the kind that are hammering the leash on those turns, can't do it on their weak side. Like it's not the same as whapping him around a corner. And I also, against what I like, I have him rounding his turns just a little bit, rather than the real crisp military style, like hard about turns, which I usually like. It's too much prey drive for this dog. So poor kid's like, he's biting me. Shit, he's biting me.
Stop moving so fast, bro.
Yeah, I go, okay, yeah, all right, we'll take care of it. So it's just a conditioned response out of the dog from previous. So that's the thing when you get those dogs like that, it's baggage.
Yeah.
What bad habits have they got? That's like I said, the first day we got here, we started doing a downstay. That dog wouldn't stay for 1 second. I'm like, well, I know what we didn't work on the last 2 years.
Yeah, that or the handler always rewarded him at the handler, and it's like,
yeah, called him off.
Yep, exactly. You're like, oh, cool, I'll come back. Yeah. So
what do we got going today?
Well, we've had a lot of episodes, or I don't think we've done an actual episode. I definitely not on this what we're going to talk about, but we do a lot of, and kind of like an undercurrent of what we talk about is testing, like pre-selection testing for dogs. Like we talk about how we test drives, and there's infinite conversations in the canine industry about, how to select a dog and this, that, and the other. Part of that is health, right? So one of the things that I do, that I and Alicia focus on, and I know you do too, a lot of vendors focus on a lot, is to make sure these dogs are healthy, come from good lines, right? So we don't have hip dysplasia, which everyone knows, hips, elbows, eyes, spine, blah, 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 right? But there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it. Like when our dogs come in, by the time they're passed off to the department for their bonding week, they've seen a vet in Europe and a vet here, and then a vet for the department. They've gone through all the testing. They probably got a couple of set of x-rays. I take them to a canine dentist who's a DVM and a DDS here in Tulsa, that I feel like I've built a wing onto that dude's office. Every time I see him, he has a brand new Dodge Raptor, and I'm like, or whatever that thing, a T-Rex. I'm like, nice truck, Doc. I feel like I paid for it. He's like, oh, you may have. Fuck. So there's a lot of the things that go into this. The one thing that I think that gets missed, especially once the dogs leave me, because we feed super high quality food, right? The dogs are obviously working a lot when they're here. I think it's the preventative maintenance. So these police dogs and search and rescue dogs are expensive. Like, they are not cheap. The dogs themselves can range anywhere from what, Eric, like 10 to 25, 35.
Yeah, it depends on what you're paying for, right?
And, the departments want, obviously, to have an amortized amount of work and kind of have, out of it. What I don't want is for a accountant to be driving the decision on when this dog retires and when he doesn't, which is usually what happens. Thankfully, it's starting to change, but I think a lot of times, like, once we select these dogs correctly through x-rays and health testing and all this other stuff, then we're like, all right, we're good. And we're not good. So there needs to be some maintenance. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of times I'll send dogs home, and then the departments are like, we're going to switch his food. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, and they feed him pocket lint and sawdust, and they're like, oh, he's not working very well. And I'm like, well, yeah, he's eating 6 cups and getting 40 calories. I mean, you wouldn't either. So like, it becomes this thing, right? Like, so nutrition and like general health testing and general wellness maintenance and all that stuff will increase not only the quality of life of the dog, but the working life of the dog throughout his career, whether it's search and rescue or dual purpose patrol and everything in between. I see it more on the law enforcement side. The military is a little better because they have a dedicated staff like for this specific topic. But today we have on Dr. Kelly Fishman. She's DVM, CVA, CCRT, which I'll let her explain what all that is. She's a leader in the field of veterinary sports medicine and physical rehabilitation, is the founder at Strut Animal Hospital Specialist and a veterinary advisor board a member at Myos Pet. She is dedicated her career to enhancing the quality of life of animals through an integrated approach combining what we've been talking about, nutrition, fitness, and state-of-the-art therapy methods. And we can talk about some of the selection stuff too during this episode, and tools that improve some of the long-term health, mobility, and well-being of dogs and cats too, for that matter. I would assume any animal, really. Our primary focus is to equip pet owners with the knowledge and tools they need to help the dogs work longer and live longer and have, a better quality of life rather than needing. Like, I have a 14-year-old Malinois downstairs that is hanging on out of sheer just spite. I think.
Stubbornness.
Yeah, he's just a dick. So with that, we have Dr. Kelly Fishman. How are you, Doc?
Good. Happy to be here.
So when you guys reached out to us and we kind of read through this, I was like, this is kind of interesting because of like what I just gave in this intro. Like, a lot of this industry focuses on the pre-selection testing, which I am happy about, right? Like, I've gotten dogs that people send to me and their hips look like two contact lenses rubbing together. I'm like, I got bad news for you. This dog's going to need an appendectomy by like 18 months. Yeah. And I was like, I don't care how much drive this dog has. He's not going to be able to work for any longer than a year. So, but, that's fine and great. But say we have the dogs that have great hips and great elbows and great spines and great teeth and great genetics and all these other things, and they're super healthy. Like, I think most departments, like I said, are like, you know what? That's good. That's all we need to do. We'll feed them the bare minimum, crappy food, whatever else. And that's
and then we murder them for 8 years straight.
Yeah, we work them into the ground for 8 years. And so your specialty, give us a little bit of your background, and then we'll talk about your specialty for like sports rehab and longevity.
Basically, what my specialty is, it's an area of veterinary medicine that's the newest area. And it's all focused on the dog's body. So the equivalent of like your car, breaks down and you got an accident. I'm the body shop, like I don't really work so much on the internal engine, the liver and the kidneys. I work on the dog's body. I keep them strong. I keep them moving. And then when they have issues, if it is like your 14-year-old dog and they're slowing down, they're frail, I actually can do a lot of work with senior dogs to keep them mobile and keep them strong. So everything I do and all of my patients, I'm focused on strength. I'm focused on endurance and keeping them strong and with good endurance. And then also when they get injured, helping them recover from that injury. So that's kind of what my little business does, just to help dogs.
Yeah, that's cool. The thing about dogs is, as everybody knows, or they're at least are listening to this, is the dogs don't just die. They'll never do that. You're not going to come downstairs and your dog has passed away. It's a decline where at some point you have to make a decision, for that dog. And it's the hardest part about that. But you're doing things correctly. Like, I just had a greyhound that passed. We just had to put him down a couple of weeks ago. He was 14. And but he lived the last few years because of the diet he was on and different things like that. And we never got to the point where we were being selfish and things like that. But everybody wants their dogs to live a little bit longer, but a lot of people don't know how to do that. When you were going through vet school, what made you did something click? You're like, man, I like this older dog stuff.
Yeah. So basically, first of all, like, we're now thinking about in veterinary medicine that what we call the health span. So it's not really about how long the dog is living, but it's really about their health span. Is like, can they live every day as a good day? Can he live to 14 years old or 10 years old, still chase, still, do scent work, still go on hikes, and maybe he's not as fast, he can't jump as high, but that dog is still able to do the things that they want to do. And that's their health span. So my job, and something that anyone can learn for their dogs, is to give them that health span. So up until the day that we have to say goodbye to them, they're not experiencing any bad days. So
it's like you, Ted, at heavy metal concerts, where you used to be able to stage dive, maybe a little bit, maybe an hour in the pit.
I still do that, but I'm definitely, my girlfriend
in bed for weeks.
Like, you're 44 years old. Why are you on stage? And I'm like, how else are you supposed to jump off of it? So my 14-year-old dog, right? Like, he's a 14-year-old Malinois. He's downstairs right now. He had zero health problems his entire life till he was 12. And at 12 on Christmas Eve, or the day after Christmas, he had a seizure. And now he's on phenobarb potassium bromide. And he's got arthritis. His eyes, and he's blind in one eye. His teeth are broken. However, he can still get around by himself. He can still go to the bathroom by himself. He can still get up on the couch by himself. I have to lift him to the car and make him go to work every day with me at the kennel, and he just hangs out. But man, you wouldn't know that he's a 14-year-old that can't move when you like get some French fries out. That dude is on point, in your face. And that's kind of like what Eric said, right? Like, you know, the minute that he stops being interested in that kind of stuff, I'll be like, okay. But right now, like this morning, he was bugging me. I was making breakfast downstairs and he was in my face wanting it. I'm like, yeah, I know, buddy. So, and Eric made that point. But in like you said, about right before he's had his seizures, I would still work him on odor. Like he would come in and I'd have explosive odor out and he'd go over and hammer his alert. And he'd sit there until I'd pay him, and then he would take his ball and go sit down and chew on his ball. I'm like, all right, whatever, whatever you want to do, bro. You're
one
retired.
and done. But I'm doing it.
So he still enjoys doing it. He'll still alert on explosive odor now, but he wants food. He didn't really want to play with his toy.
Well, it's funny you say that because we're learning. So, I mean, the dog's scent, I mean, I'm sure you know this, but like the dog's ability to smell is amazing. And the other amazing thing about it is when they smell, they kind of, create a map visually around them. So when they see like, a certain space, they see the person, but then that person moves away and they still have the scent of that person being there. So those are all things but what that means is when you have an older dog that's losing their sight and they can't see, they're now relying on their bigger, sense of smell, which is first of all the dog's number one scent, the strongest one. So he's able to, even though he's blind, he doesn't really care because he's been scent trained his entire life. His sense of smell is super strong, and you've actually really worked on it. And then continuing to work on it is super beneficial in older dogs because it helps them navigate their environment. So you're doing the absolute right thing, and keeping up on that is, great.
Well, I want to back up real quick. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up outside of Los Angeles, and so I grew up outside of Los Angeles, and I grew up in a house where, I had a mom that was always bringing home stray animals. So we had pet rats, pet bunnies, bunch of birds, stray kittens, and Dobermans. My family was a Doberman family. Yeah. And then I was a big horse girl. So I was at the barn as much as I could be, just riding horses. And so kind of grew up in that area surrounded by animals. And I guess that's where my love of animals started. And didn't really become a vet till later in life. But that's where all that started.
So every girl when they're younger is like, I want to be a veterinarian. I want to be a veterinarian. Was that your mantra when you were little?
Not really. Like the vet would come to the barn, and I was always intrigued and like wanted to know, I was always someone who was interested in medicine and science and just a very curious person and an observational person. But I never thought to myself, like a lot of veterinarians do, I'm going to be a veterinarian. That's all I want to be. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I could be Cleopatra or like have other jobs, but I wasn't set on veterinary medicine until it was a bit later in life. And I realized that being an administrative assistant or working in an office, like I'm someone who wants to be outside. I'm someone who wants to work with my hands and, where can I do that? But also be a healer and also learn medicine. So that's veterinary medicine very much, not human medicine anymore. Unfortunately, you kind of have to be a vet to actually use your hands and diagnose things and see things.
So I know a lot of people that are in veterinary medicine or somehow in that were influenced by a large animal vet that comes to the property, that comes out to the house, and they're always like, that's so cool. He gets to do that with, coming out with horses and cows and large animals and things like that. Before we started recording, you were talking about how you do in-home stuff, which is, is rare. There's not that much. Do you think that was kind of part from growing up, seeing them coming out and work on the dogs, or you were just like, I just want to do this way? So
part of what my sessions look like when I work with dogs is a lot of it's fitness training. So about half the session, I'm doing exercises with the dogs, whether it's a senior that's, old and kind of creaky, or it's a young hunting dog and we need to do fitness exercises. Both of them are getting exercises of some sort. So I have my car packed full of like dog peanuts and which they can roll, things for them to do squats on, things for them to do pivots on, and cavaletti poles and all this cool equipment for the dog. So I kind of roll up with my like portable gym. And so that's pretty fun. I love being in people's homes and working with the dogs in their own space because they don't have that level of like apprehension and just like fear. Because when you're in a vet hospital, and I had worked in rehab in a veterinary hospital, a big specialty center, and you know how dogs are. Like they walk in and they can smell the fear of the other dogs and the people. They can smell like the blood that's all the sickness and blood that's in that space. And so if you're trying to do rehab on these dogs, they're already like a little bit like on edge, and you just don't get them to perform as well. They don't want to. They're a little bit more distracted, and won't do the exercises as well. They won't relax, but if they're at home, they're in their space, with their people. Like I had dogs that were super aggressive and had to be muzzled and were trying to attack me in the rehab space. And I went to their home and I never used a muzzle after. Like they were totally fine. And yeah, they knew me by that point too. But I also think it was, I was in their space and they were cool with that. So I think that's part of why I love doing the home visits, is that the dogs are just so much more accepting of the treatment, more willing to do the exercises. And that's why I prefer home visits.
I would imagine you go to some of these places, especially the younger dogs, see you and they're like, oh yeah, and they get excited. How do the older dogs react? Can you tell? Does it feel good to them, this like physical therapy that they're getting?
Yeah. It's the first time. Whenever it's a first session, there's always a little bit of, apprehension on the dog's end, because I do, thorough rehab exam, and I have to sometimes like do a strength assessment. So I say, okay, well, how strong is your dog? I go through it and I look through, every major muscle group, and I say, how's your dog's core and back end?
How do you measure that? Because you're not asking them to do like a bench press. Because there's the things for humans, right? Like you're supposed to be able to do X number of squats and do your amount of body weight, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole test. So what does that look like? Because you said that, I'm like, how do you assess because obviously it's relative to size, right? Like Alicia's kick a pet thing, her 2-pound Chihuahua is definitely not as strong as like my 3-year-old Belgian Malinois that is just a wrecking ball.
Yes. So they actually could be equal in strength. And I'll kind of go through it. How about you do basic strength and endurance testing? So endurance is pretty easy. So I'll start with that one. So endurance is all cardiovascular. So the top, one of the top ways they test it, and actually how they test it in a lot of working dogs, is they do a sprint test. So they basically ask the dog to sprint 25 meters, and they basically record it and time it. And they want to get that dog, they want to see how fast that dog is sprinting. And a sprint is a full body power in a dog. Like they have to have strong core, they have to have strong back legs, and they have to have, cardiovascular endurance as well. So you can do sprint tests. The other thing I can tell people to do if they don't want to set up a sprint test is just to see how long your dog can trot for without stopping. And a trot is that gait, I'm sure but it's that gait between a walk and a run. And it's that kind of like little bouncy, cute trot gait that they have. And if your dog can trot continuously for 15 minutes without stopping, or swim continuously for 5 minutes, that means that they actually have a nice level of endurance. So that's an endurance test that I can do or have my clients do ahead of time, especially if it's summer and they have access to water or pool. And then strength assessment. So that's a little bit more difficult to do, but basically what it involves is we test it leg by leg. And what I'll do to test, for example, a back leg, I'll put the dog's front end up on a block about the height of its elbow. So you first kind of look at the elbow, you guess how high it is, 6 inches, or probably for your Malinois, for the Chihuahua, maybe that's like 3 inches. So their front legs go up, and then I pull back one of the back legs. And what I want to see is engagement of the hamstring muscles, the gluteals, and the quads, and that dog able to completely support that back leg without faltering at all. And I have to hold it there for a few seconds. So that's actually what I do to do a strength test. And I do it on every dog, because it helps me figure out what exercise level to put him in. So I know, okay, this dog is an older dog and they're weak. So I have to put them in like almost like the equivalent of like a level 1 squat. Versus if I have a dog that's super strong, it's, young and really active and doesn't have any injury, it can go into right away to like a more advanced squat exercise or advanced exercise group. So yeah, that's something you could easily do.
I will say for my sport dog trainers that are listening, sport dog handlers, I'm a certified PSA decoy, which is a large bite sport. And
Yeah.
I see it a lot at trials where, and Mondio ring is I'm not a Mondio ring decoy, but a lot of times those dogs are out on the field for 20, 30 minutes. And PSA in the upper levels, especially in the 2s and the 3s, the dogs will be competing for 20, 25 minutes. And now on the judging side, we judge speed and intensity of like the dog's entries and recalls and whatever else. But you see it. So if I'm out on the field, a lot of times I'll be the first bite and then I've been the last bite. And the gap in time is, 18, 20 minutes or whatever it is. But the intensity level on the dogs is much less towards the end. And it is and we're talking about Dutch Shepherds, Malinois, German Shepherds that are, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old that are working consistently, working a lot. And they're even gassed doing some of that. So and if you're a canine handler listening to this, and this is very important for my dual purpose canine handlers, and it's something that Eric and I hammer dudes on all the time. And we get a lot of questions on our tracking episodes about speed, like how fast should I track? Because if you're tracking behind a Malinois or a Dutch Shepherd, and especially if they've had success on tracks with biting people and whatever else, they're going to want to track as fast as possible. And I remind my handlers, I'm like, don't outrun your backup. And when you get there, when you find this dude, you got to have enough gas in the tank, both of you, you and the dog, to fight this dude if that's what it comes down to. And you can't do that if you're running at Mach 10 plus. That's how people get shot at. But so it's constantly one of these things that I don't like preach it in my handler schools, but I'm like, you have to work the dog and he's got to be exercised. One of my buddies down in Charleston, South Carolina, Tom, he had a deal where I guess like right during COVID, he started a deal where he ran every day. And I think he's on like day 800 and something now. But he has a dual purpose patrol dog, and his dog's name's Paco. And Paco runs with him every day. And he posts a thing on Instagram. He's like, day whatever, run every day. And he runs the dog every day. And it's like 2 miles or, 3 miles or whatever it is. But he's been to 2 of our seminars, and you can tell that dog is in shape. Faux show, because he's a hammer, and he's a hammer the entire time he's there. So, yeah. Don't neglect longevity, or don't neglect cardiovascular stuff. Like I know these Malinois are fast. When you said 25 meters, I was like, shit, some of these dogs can jump that far. I was like, that'll be a pretty fast, like.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I'm American, so I do not know what meters.
Yeah, Eric's like, what is a meter? Exactly. Americans use anything but the metric system.
I like to pick on
Right.
that.
Eric's like, how many bananas is that laid in?
Right. Yes. Right.
See, right? Exactly.
How many pieces of meat. We're going to go ahead and take our first commercial break. When we get back, we're going to talk about, we have a lot of questions about longevity and how to get there and the benefits of it. And we're going to get into some stuff later on, guys, about humans and dogs and how they can affect each other living together and different things like that. Your health, their health, everything. And it's going to be pretty interesting. There's a lot of studies done on this stuff. So stick around. We will be right back. If you skip through the commercials, check the show notes for the discount codes and burn those things up because we love it. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, it's me again, back with some more awesome sponsors. I want to talk a little bit about Ray Allen Canine Manufacturing. Who else in our industry allows us to come to them with ideas as handlers, as dog professionals, and say, you know what, I think I would like to make this, or wouldn't this be a good idea? And they will actually sit down with you and talk to you about your designs. I've got a collab with them on a muzzle, on a leash and a collar. They're amazing to work with. Their products are top notch. They're made in America, in Colorado, and we love Matt. So give them a holler, check them out on socials at Ray Allen, the letter K, the number 9, or visit them online at rayallen.com and use our discount code WDR10 RAY for 10% off. Guys, have you visited Dogtra lately? If you go to Dogtra, they have their new online portal, and it's really cool, very user-friendly. You don't have to call them and order them anymore. You can go to mydogtra.com and they have everything there. You can set up an online profile. They keep your orders. They know what you've used. We use everything, their ball droppers and poppers. We use their e-collars, their 1900S hands-free for our officers, their Q and their 280 for our pet clients. We use all of their products all the time. Eric travels around and does seminars specific to Dogtra, so you can have him come in and teach a class on how to use it. Check them out, dogtra.com, and follow them on their socials. We love kinetic dog food. Ted has been using the large format. It makes excellent tracking treats. He uses it for teaching article indication. It's these huge nuggets of food that you can lay down, grab, put in your trainer's pouch. The quality is excellent. We love Debbie and Dave. We have a great relationship with them. They want to know you. They will talk to you about nutrition, about what your dog's needs are. They'll help get you set up. Their food is available everywhere. We've gotten it off of Chewy. You can buy it at stores. Please check them out, kineticdogfood.com. Your dog needs these nutrients, and they are really specific to our industry's needs. They have a full line of supplements now. Please check them out. We'll have some soon that we can give away. Go check them out. Follow them on their socials at Kinetic Dog Food. They'll really appreciate that.
All right, everybody, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. Eric Stambro and Ted Summers with Dr. Kelly Fishman, originally from California, now over in Pennsylvania now, I believe.
That's right. Yep, Kennett Square,
Way
Pennsylvania.
different weather. Pennsylvania. I'm in Ohio. It's just the same, gloomy and cold. So let's get into some stuff. I'll throw this question out to me. Where did the 7-year thing come from? Where a dog years is 7 years in human type deal?
So probably from, kibble manufacturing or marketing executives in the 1950s. So it's not something that was ever, it was not something that was ever really medically proven.
Ad men did it then.
That's back when Marlboro used to say 9 out of 10 doctors say that this is the healthiest one to smoke too.
Right.
So that's not accurate, I assume.
It's not accurate. And it'll be. And why it's not is because we have, and you'll know this because you're dog people, but we have dogs that are large breed dogs and they're aging faster. So it's like, every other mammal out there that's, bigger lives longer. An elephant lives forever, not forever really, but they live a long time.
Yeah, don't those Greenland sharks live like 300 years? I don't know. There's old ones.
Yeah.
Those Greenland shark. Yeah. And then like the tortoise that actually met, what's his name? The turtle that met is still alive or just recently died that met Darwin.
Really?
Yeah, like they said that's how long this thing had been alive. I'm like, oh geez, okay, that's a giant tortoise. So
yeah. Well, they live forever, and so do larger animals. So a Great Dane is the opposite of that. So dogs are the opposite, and bigger dogs live shorter lives. And your wife's Chihuahua, your girlfriend's Chihuahua, that thing's going to live to probably 24. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but they live a long time, especially Chihuahua.
Yeah.
So, and they're realizing probably what that is, that there's something about large big dogs that they produce more of a certain, it's almost like their bodies are sped up. And so by being sped up, they live, shorter lifespans. So first of all, that 7-year rule for one of ours doesn't apply because, maybe to a smaller dog, but to a Great Dane, it's probably for every one of our years, they're living, 10. And Chihuahuas, it's every, one of our years and they're living 4 years. So it was something that was a marketing campaign, I think, just to get people to, for whatever reason, I don't know, but it's not true.
So what's the connection then between dog longevity and people longevity?
People who have dogs live longer, and it's not surprising because that's something that they're stress relievers. They make our lives better by just being there and giving us cuddles and getting us out and just being great companions. And then part of it also is about just being a companion as well, that if you're sick or injured or have had a stroke or a heart attack, your recovery is better if you have a dog. So, that's really wonderful. And they keep your brain more youthful, apparently. So there was a study that showed that people with dementia, so older folks, if they have a dog, they actually have a more youthful brain. And then for all of us who, like you work your dogs a lot, you go out outside and you do, scent work with them, and I'm always like moving with my dogs. So dogs just really keep us moving and healthier. And there's also that thing that we all know where if you're a kid who grows up with animals, you don't have as many allergies, and you have a lot of benefits of just being around animals. So
rub some dirt on it. That's the thing.
Exactly.
You out there, rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, eat mud pies and hang out with your dog.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that because you're like, oh, they make you live longer. And if you're watching this on YouTube, if you know me, the gray in my beard is from my dogs and from my police dogs. So I'm probably not part of that. We did have Danique on a couple of episodes ago, and she talked about the PTSD side of some of the service dogs and how those dogs give people purpose. A lot of times veterans that come out of the military that have PTSD and they assign these dogs to them. And so it's kind of like in that same vein. So on the food side, we can talk of living longer and healthier lives for these dogs, but what's the connection with food and longevity? And I think there's probably two parts to this, but I'm going to let you answer. But the difference between what's the connection between food and longevity, since that 7-year thing was invented by the marketing guy. It's the same, like I said a minute ago, around the same time that they were like, 9 out of 10 doctors recommend Marlboros. What's the connection there? Because I'm pretty sure pet food has come a little ways since then.
So, one of the things we know with dogs and longevity is keeping them lean. And this isn't usually a problem for working dogs because you want a dog to, a leaner dog is usually a faster dog because they don't have that extra weight. But they did a study in Labrador puppies. And they had 2 groups of these Labrador puppies, and one group they overfed. So they were like little pudgy puppies and they continued that for their entire lives. And then the other group, they didn't underfeed them. They weren't starving, but they were just fed a little bit less and like kept lean. And what happened is at the end of these dogs' lives, they actually looked at it, and the ones that were kept lean lived 2 years longer. So we have, evidence that if you just keep your dog thin, yes, 2 people years longer.
Exactly.
Actual years.
Actual real years. And they had less health conditions. So less arthritis, because we know increased weight will lead to arthritis and other issues. So keeping your dog thin is really important. And it's not so much a problem in the agility or the working dog field, but my conformation dogs that I see, because in conformation, they like you to show the dog a little bit chubby. So we have a conformation Labrador, and I look at it, I'm like, goodness, it has to lose weight. But everybody
like a keg with legs.
Yes, but everybody in the conformation field wants to bulk up their dog and feed. They want them like a little bit overweight because that's what they're bred. I mean,
Leave it to the Americans. Like our body image is so messed up in this country that even our pets mirror it. So, Eric, how many fat pets do you see at Ridgeside?
All of them.
Mine too. We get in, pet dogs come in, and we're a balance trainer. So, but we come in, right? And Eric's guys are too. Eric's trainers are too. And we get pets in and we weigh them when they come in first thing, and they get weighed every 2 days because pet people freak out because they're like, oh, my dog's skinny. And we tell them up front, they're like, your dog is overweight. He's fat. I have a thing in my office, and I'm like, this is like the little like body composition scale. Like, this is what your dog looks like. This is what he should look like. When he's done with our board and trade program, this is what he looks like. We have to talk about free feeding. We had somebody drop off a dog, and the food, we make them bring their food. The food that they dropped off was frozen Swedish meatballs from Costco. And I looked at this woman, I was like, there's no way in hell I'm feeding this dog that. Like, we're going to get it. I was like, this. And the dog walked in and he looked like,
he ate Swedish meatballs.
Yeah, exactly. He looked like, and she's like, oh, he likes them. I'm like, well, shit, so do I. But I'm not going to sit and eat an entire bag. It's like 3,500 calories per meal. I'm like, and it's not a working dog. It's like some kind of pit bull lab thing. I don't remember what it was, but he was clearly overweight. But obviously people are the same way, right? Like, when staying lean and staying active and not eating bullshit keeps you from dying sooner. And so, I
have an unproven theory that overweight dogs are insecure. because so many, like a lot of overweight kids, they get picked on. A lot of them are, some of those kids are bulletproof, little chubby kids that don't give a shit about nothing. But all these overweight dogs we get in are like nervous, and we have to build up their confidence and think. We never have that fat dog that comes in and is like, I'm ready for anything. So
Yeah.
I always
Well, they
say
probably don't feel good. They don't feel good.
Yeah,
right. I agree.
exactly.
You know?
My
there's
trainers
no
make
way.
fun of me. They go, Eric says fat dogs are insecure and have low self-esteem. I'm like,
It's because you're
yes,
fat shaming like Will Ferrell.
Right,
Like
yeah, that's
when
what-
he did that whole thing on the show where he's like running around with a clicker and yelling at him, or on Saturday Night Live. So yeah,
real
go
quick
ahead.
on the what are some, like, give me a few health or food nutrition tips for people.
3.
Yeah. So, basically the other thing that I want to talk about is like keeping the dogs like strong and muscular, right? Because that's important for all of our dogs. Because if they have strength, they have speed, right? And if they have strength, they have less injury. If they have, strength, they have the ability to recover more from falls and things like that. So that's the other thing that like is so important to me is the strength aspect. And that kind of leads a bit into my supplements. So there's 3 supplements that I absolutely love all of my young and healthy dogs to be on. And that does change if they're older or have conditions, but young and healthy, dog, and you're feeding like a high quality food. And high quality food to me means something that's really digestible and that is made from high quality animal protein. So it's something along those lines is great. And I don't really have a favorite brand because it really depends on your dog and what you could afford. So go with that. And then I firmly believe in supplementing that food as much as possible for, things that you necessarily can't always add to the food. And one of those things would be probiotics. So they actually found that, sometimes those probiotics that are in the kibble, the benefits of them have been processed out. So I always tell people to add on probiotics if they can, and just making sure that they're a dog specific probiotic is the best thing. So I always have a client who asks like, oh, can I add yogurt or, something for my fridge? And the answer is no. Like you need to add a dog specific probiotic with, a couple different strains of bacteria. And probiotics are just great. I mean, I could talk about them forever, but it's something that I feel like most animals really benefit from immune system, and just keeping the gut healthy is super important. And then the second thing that I like is something called fortitropin, and that is something that most people have never heard of. But it's
Yeah, I was going to say, you said that super fast. Say that again. Forta what?
So basically what it is, and actually where it came from is actually more interesting to me, but it's something that was discovered from fertilized egg yolks. So we don't even eat, fertilized egg yolks, right? We eat unless you have your own chickens, but probably for like most of humanity, people ate fertilized egg yolks, right? And there's a lot of benefits to fertilized egg yolks to build muscle and prevent muscle loss. And I always like think of the guys in the the 50s, like just drinking all those like fertilized egg yolks raw as a way to like bulk up. And so there's this compound called fortitropin that they've isolated from these fertilized egg yolks to basically, and has been shown to build muscle in dogs and in people. And it's been around for a while, but it's recently made its way into the animal arena. And there's a company that makes it a really good fortitropin supplement called myopathy. And that's something I use with my own cat. And I have a lot of my patients on it as well. So yeah, that myopathy is great. It builds muscle. It's easier than getting fertilized egg yolks yourself and trying to figure out.
Well, that was my next
how you
question.
could use
I'm
them.
like, yeah, I'm like, so now now I got to bug somebody that has chickens, and I'm like, yo, so now you can just buy it. Okay, it makes sense. I guess they make it for people too, which you can buy it. It's
They
called,
do.
Conveniently, it's called yoked.
Yeah,
Go
actually,
for it.
I use it for myself. I've been using
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I've been using it for myself for 5 years, believe it or not.
Huh.
So
Did
yeah,
not realize. All right.
yeah. So, and it's because
So
maybe don't
Sylvester
look at.
Stallone was on to something back in the day
Yes,
when he's
yeah,
just sucking down egg yolks.
yeah. And egg
We all
protein
tried it and
is,
threw up.
yeah, it is funny because egg protein is something it's you get a lot of bang for your buck with it because it's not a lot of extra calories. I think
Yeah.
like a whole boiled egg is 24 calories or something like that, but the amount of protein in it is pretty good. And the Myos Pet, it's not even like a protein powder or a protein supplement. It really is this compound that's been proven to stop muscle loss. So it's not even like a protein powder, like you're getting all the protein from the food. It's just more of a supplement to kind of bulk your dog up, and as a way to like prevent injury. So it's really cool.
What was the third one?
Collagen. So
Collagen?
so I like collagen, and I like doing a supplement which has there's 3 different types of collagen. Something that has from bovine collagen would be a great source. And why I suggest that, especially to my working dogs, is because they actually did a study when after dogs did some sprinting, they looked at their bodies and they actually upregulated a lot of inflammatory components in their joints. So that meant that after they did a lot of running or a lot of intense sudden kind of physical work, their cartilage in the knee started to break down. And that was actually mitigated by giving them collagen. So doing something like a bovine collagen in a dog that's really active is a great thing to do. I actually suggest it more than I suggest the glucosamine or chondroitin, to be honest, just because there's a lot more evidence for products like the Myos Pet, for evidence for probiotics, evidence for collagen that there is for glucosamine and chondroitin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's the opposite of what we're all told when we go to the pet store. And a lot of our supplements, we're told give glucosamine and chondroitin, and your dog will live forever. And just that's not. We actually have a lot of studies showing other things work really well, and nothing showing that glucosamine and chondroitin is all that it's supposed to be.
Well,
So
I
I
think
don't
real
suggest
quick.
it.
I think
Yeah.
we did. I think so. We were giving Mac the old Greyhound collagen, and every once in a while he would run. Not often. It would always catch us off guard. He would run when he was older, and you would see him suffer for it. Like he ran 50 yards, and now he's laying down for a day and a half. And I
Yeah.
think collagen. Now that you say that, and I don't. My wife started doing it. And I don't know where she got the idea. It seemed to maybe that's why he was able to continue to get up and go outside 5 times a day and every once in a while run.
Yeah.
He was that might have been it. I had always been told that too much probiotic was not good for a dog. Is that not true?
Well, so I don't think it's really that there's too much of it. It could have been the different strain of the probiotic. So every probiotic is unique in that it has a different strain of bacteria that is like, is in the product. So some of them have one particular bacterial strain. Some of them have a few different ones. But if it doesn't agree with your dog, if you're putting in the wrong bacteria, you may not get any benefits, but it also just like may upset their stomach or make things worse. So maybe people who said that had a bad experience, and I wouldn't say it was probiotics in general. It was just maybe that it was the wrong probiotic for the dog. It really is something when I tell people to start a probiotic to see how your dog responds, and if they're not doing well on it, like take them off and try a different one, because it's could not be the right one at all.
How would you know they're not doing good?
Well, stomach upset is pretty obvious, like their stomach is gurgling, like they don't want to eat, they're licking their lips, they have,
Okay.
loose stools.
Yeah, that's
The
that's
stomach
easy
isn't
to see
healthy.
all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ted, do you have something? I cut you
Well,
off there.
we're taught, I think, at least on the working dog side, right? Because we place such a high emphasis on hips and all that other stuff, right? To prevent, dysplasia and whatever. And we're taught that it's like a mechanical type of deal, right? Because we focus a lot on x-rays, and when we do pen vet or, we do pin hip and whatever else, like we're looking for that nice deep socket with, if you're looking on YouTube, I'm doing the thing, right? This is a deep socket with the head ball joint in and everything else. And what I've kind of, I think anecdotally seen is that the conjointin and stuff that like doesn't have a huge effect, but the dogs that it's just like people, right? Like my shoulder is jacked from working police dogs for 20 years. And wrecking my bike and whatever else. But having strong muscles to support the joint probably does more than making sure that it's slick. I guess is the best way to describe it. So even my old dog downstairs, he's in get on the couch by himself. He can kind of trot around, but it's obvious that he's got arthritis and everything else, but he walks so much, and I make him walk. And I mean, he's obviously not the dog he was 10 years ago, but he's still very athletic when he needs to be, and doesn't necessarily, like Mac was talking about. But the food I give him has some of that stuff in it. I don't know if it has the fortropin stuff in it or not. I should probably give him some though. But yeah, so,
definitely.
And that in that kind of similar vein, so we talked about like these three things: the probiotics, the fortropin, and the collagen. So with people and dogs, it's really important to maintain, like, that's what they tell us, like aging, right? Like keep moving. As long as you keep moving, like, you'll have a longer, much better quality of life and a longer life rather than being sedentary. I've seen that with elderly members of my own family. I've seen that with elderly dogs that I've had. So talk a little bit about like what type of exercises we should be focusing on for dogs, for mental and physical health and that kind of stuff.
Well, first of all, I want to make a plug also for the University of Pennsylvania Working Dog Program. So they actually came out with I'm not sure if you've seen their Fit to Work program, but their Fit to Work program, just you know it? Okay, good. Yeah. So that's a great program with a couple. Actually, I've just started to work with them and enrolled in their program. So I will be way more educated on Fit to Work soon. But basically what that program is it's designed to build strength in the back legs, because a lot of the working dogs, like, they need to be able to jump up, and that's power in the hamstrings and gluteals. They need to be able to sprint quickly, which is like power in the core muscles. So those exercises are really designed to try to keep those dogs, strong. And of course that makes sense. They're younger, or they're, young dogs, and they don't have any other issues, and they have a job. But then what happens, you're exactly right, is that when your dog starts to age, most people just stop doing everything. They let their dog become a couch potato, and they're like, oh, he's older, he doesn't want to go on walks as much, or there's nothing you could do because he's an old dog and he's getting frail. But it's actually not true at all. Like, there's so much we can do for these dogs, and they shouldn't stop moving. You're right. Like, if they stop moving, they lose it. And I think then they lose their confidence. They lose, they get like a little depressed, and it really is. They have to keep moving. And I give my senior dogs lots of exercises to do, especially core exercises and back leg exercises, because dogs lose muscle strength in the core and the back legs before anywhere else. And dogs are mostly front wheel drive. So dogs actually, 60% of their weight is on their front legs. And they're kind of, they have a gait that's called it's a pulling gait. So they pull with their front legs and then kind of push off with their back legs. So it's really important for our seniors to do core and back leg exercises. So every one of my senior dogs, my clients are doing pivots. My clients are doing backwards walks. My clients are doing hip stretches every day. They're doing all of the exercises to keep their spine mobile and flexible, and keep their body strong. It's so important.
I got a couple more questions. One, so we talked about we've picked the dogs, right? They for the working dogs, they passed all the tests. They look great, right? And then in and out of cars, from air conditioning to hot, from heat to cold, to jumping, slamming, beating them up, falling through floors, everything we do. And we're trying to hopefully get those dogs to work till they're about 10, 9, 10, like Ted said, before the bean counters step in. What can the guys do with those dogs to kind of counteract the lifestyle that we put them through over that span of their life?
Yeah, and I think
life.
Yeah, I think what it is every day doing a warm up or, cool down program with them, every day, just making sure that you are keeping them as strong as possible, because that's injury prevention. So doing those exercises that the UPenn Working Dog program suggests, and making sure to do your warm up and cool down. The warm up program, it takes about 90 seconds. And maybe you don't always have that, but sometimes you do. Or, if you can't do a warm up, you could definitely do a cool down. And And we like the cool down programs because that's one of the first places you can actually see injury is, as they're cooling down, they're doing their walk and they've done their really intense activity. They've done their sprint, they've done their run, they've done their work, and then they're cooling down, they're walking, and you're just observing them. You're looking for little subtle signs of lameness. If they're sitting down and kicking their knee out, they're not doing a square sit anymore, or they're being a little bit hesitant. So not only keeping them strong, doing warm-ups, doing the cool down, but then trying to find injuries before they're really obvious, because we know, just like you said, they're breaking down their body, and all the wear and tear, the vigorous exercise that these dogs have to do, that's breaking down their tendons, breaking down their joints constantly. So keeping those muscles strong is so important with exercise. And then the nutrition is the other part of it, because, just like us, if I'm going to try to build muscle, I have to do squats and do biceps curl, but if I'm eating a bad diet, I have no protein, I'm not able to build muscles easily. So, keeping them on a good diet, making sure they're, really maximizing their ability to gain strength and support the muscle while you're doing the exercises.
Shout out to Penn Vet, because I was at Penn Vet last year doing an e-collar seminar, and that's the first place I ever seen anybody do warm-ups.
Yeah, we've done two or three HRDs there, and with the law enforcement side, and their trainers who are also canine handlers and police officers do some of the warm up stuff too. And Ray and I were like, "What are you doing?"
I thought it was touchy-feely bullshit, but
yeah, I did too. I was like, and I looked at the canine handlers, like, "What are you doing?" Yeah. And they're like, "We're doing a warm up." I'm like, "What?" And I mean, the dogs were, and so they had some of their vet students there who were not trainers. And they were watching the dogs work through some of the scenarios. And I mean, it was interesting to listen to them say, now that we see, because their training program for canine is really, really good. But I don't know that there's a lot of interaction between the vet students and the trainer side, or there's not a lot anyway, or what it seems like. But when they were watching some of the scenarios where the dogs were Mach 10 smashing decoys, and they're like, oh, okay, now we instantly see why and how. And they're like, oh, it's when we do this type of warm-up, we do this type of exercise, this is why. And it makes the dog, they'll be able to perform this exercise more, or this behavior much longer. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it made sense to me at the time, because I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with me. There's a reason I do overhead presses and shoulder presses, because my shoulders are jacked from working dogs for so long. But I get it, but nobody's ever, it wasn't one of those things when I was brought up in the training world, you don't exercising your dog was training. That's what it was, right?
Yeah,
we trained, we did two ball, just get him to run, right? And, especially on the working dog side, we hear this all the time, you have to work them or they go crazy. I'm like, I don't necessarily know that that's 100% true on the mental side anyway. But I do see a correlation of dogs that are stimulated mentally. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical activity, but my Malinois puppies, I let them do the little slot machine thing where they mess around with the things that pops food out and all that other stuff, and that's generally enough for those little guys until they get big enough they just destroy stuff. But the mental side, the mental stimulation side is, I think, is equally important. That's my dog now. My old dog, I give him Kongs filled with frozen meat and frozen stuff in it, and he'll sit there and chew on that for ever and paw at it, and I think that's all the mental he needs right now. The rest of the time he's just trying not to die. So
Penn Vet's doing cool stuff. You want to be creeped out, go to Penn Vet and watch them walking robot dogs around the parking lot. I'm always that's weird. Stay over there. Get away.
I've seen that episode of Black Mirror. I'm good. I've seen that episode. Nope.
Ken, I brought up another thought process. So one of the things that retires a police dog early or working dog is skeletal stuff, DM and different things with back and hips and all that. Are they DM, for example, are they destined, predetermined to have that, or can you combat that? Is there things that we could do? Because anybody who's had a dog with DM, you start hearing those nails dragging, and then it's downhill about 10 years old, downhill.
Oh, it's just devastating. So there is a cheek swab test that people can do at home, and it's $60. And I don't remember what if it's University of Kansas. It's a veterinary school, but if you Google, or maybe it's University of Washington, but it's how to do a degenerative myelopathy at home test. It's a cheek swab. It's $60. You send it out, and it'll tell you if your dog genetically is predisposed to get degenerative myelopathy. And either in that's actually a condition that's ruled by two different genes, which means that your dog is either going to be have two copies of the genes and is probably going to get it, or they're going to have one that's bad. Yeah. Or is it a dog that has one copy, but it's a breed that we know gets it, shepherds and corgis, right? Or boxers. And so if it's one of those breeds and they have one copy of it, you should treat it like they're going to get some form of that, or they're completely clear, and that's great. So first of all, just screening your dog, making sure anytime I see someone with a corgi or a shepherd or a boxer, I said, have you screened your dog? It's an easy cheek swab. You could do it at home. It's good to know. And why it's good to know is because I see a lot of the DM dogs when they can barely walk, they're falling over. We have to get them in a cart. But if I had just seen them a year earlier when that toenail just started to drag, I could keep them stronger. And we have a couple studies that show if they do physical rehabilitation, which is not really anything fancy, it's just doing these exercises, we keep them strong, their DM signs are delayed by at least 6 months or even longer. So I've had a couple DM dogs live 2 years after diagnosis and live really good quality lives just because those owners were really dedicated and did a lot of time working with their dogs and keeping them strong. So yeah, that's something that we can definitely do something about it, and it doesn't have to be the death sentence that it once was, but because it's a sad condition. And,
it is. It's hard to watch, man. I remember the first dog that we had that had it, as far as at the police department, we were training at a old school. We're out in the parking lot, and I had my back to the dog, and I was doing something, and I was like, clip his nails, dude. And I turn around, he's like, no, man. And you could see him dragging it just enough. And then I always remember that after that. So my last question before we go to our next break is, why are so many dogs allergic these days to stuff in food and everything? Why has it gotten so bad?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, some of it could just be if they're chronically inflamed in their intestines. So if you have a dog that for whatever reason just has an intestinal tract that's really inflamed, so maybe you're eating highly processed food, for example. And what has happened is that in your intestines, it's become very leaky. So when you eat things like a chicken or a protein, those are able to kind of bypass through the intestinal tract a little bit abnormally and then get caught up in the immune system. And then your dog becomes allergic to it. So, potentially that's my own theory. That's not been proven. But there are a lot of allergies, a lot of food allergies, and I think personally, it's about how we're feeding animals. Feeding them highly processed foods probably isn't the best thing. So, and I think that has something to do with it, to be honest. And versus what they were eating for probably hundreds of years was our table scraps. And those were really digestible foods because they were what we ate. And so I think it's a lot about the food, to be honest, but I'm not an expert in that. I'm not an expert in that area.
There's a really good, before we go to break, there's a really good documentary. I saw it on Netflix. I can't remember the veterinarian's name that did it, but it's called Pet Fooled. And it talks about the pet food industry and and when I watched, I was like, holy shit. I was like, this is terrible. Thankfully, one of the sponsors of the show is Kinetic, and they do a really good job with food. But yeah, Eric is talking, one of the things that I use for tracking for all of our obedience with our police dogs is their 24K formula that doesn't have chicken in it, and because it seems like everybody's allergic to
beef and pork.
Everybody's allergic to chicken now, but it's a super high quality protein stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and take our last break. And so don't fast forward through the commercials, and don't ask me for the discount codes because I don't know them off the top of my head. So you can email Alicia though; she'll tell you. Stay back. Don't fast forward. We'll be back in a second.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. Please check out our friends Jason and Aaron Pergison at Highland Police Canine. If you guys are interested in going to school, if you've come out of the military, you can use your GI Bill to go through their school. They have a pet training school, they have a police training school, they have online courses that you guys can take, such as their canine supervisor course. You guys can really take that as far as you want with them. They are a veritable fountain of knowledge when it comes to canine. They're located in North Carolina. They're always accessible, always available, and we've had such a long relationship with them. I cannot say a good enough good about them. So please check them out. If you go to Tactical Police Canine Training, go to their online programs, check them out. Use the discount code NARC for 20% off any of their online courses. Guys, that will help you. It'll help you make headway in this industry. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times when we're talking about dog kennels and their construction, like you don't know where to start. What do I do? What do I add? I need to weatherproof this, waterproof this, pea proof this. If you guys have checked out Horizon Structures lately, it's unbelievable. They literally have everything that you could possibly need. They can build your kennel with as many holes as you want in it, and they can drive it out to you, set it on your pad, hook it up, and you can move dogs in it immediately, from mild to wild, from one kennel all the way up, from the tiniest of pet runs to the hardest of working dogs. If you can dream it, they can build it. Go ahead and check them out at horizonstructures.com. Go specifically to their working dog area. It's commercial-dog-kennels. Give them a call, 888-447-4337. And of course, check them out on their socials at Horizon Structures, and they will hook you guys up. We also want to send a huge shout out. He recently passed away. Rest in peace, Brother Deeg. Thank you for our music. Thank you for the permission to use it. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you're doing well on the other side. Thank you guys for listening.
All right, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the Bite. I am Ted Summers from Tulsa, Oklahoma, as always, and Eric is up in Canton, as always, and we've got Dr. Kelly Fishman from up in the Philly area.
Kennett Square.
There you go. See, up in the Philly area. We're talking about longevity, what we feed dogs. We're kind of focusing on the working dog side more than anything. We've been talking about supplements in the last one. We'll put all this stuff in the show notes too. I'll have Alicia put it all in there. But we left off with kind of like food and supplements toward the end and some of the exercises. Eric, where are we going next?
We're going to talk about, so I want to talk about the other interesting aspect of the information you sent us about humans.
Oh, yeah.
The correlation with humans and dogs, how dogs can help humans live longer, and I think humans can probably help dogs live longer. I think there was something in there that's crazy to think about, a correlation of similar diseases that people and dogs can get, like in the household, which is very fascinating to me. Just like, I always say movement is life. Movement is life when it comes to dogs, getting them when they're nervous, getting them when they, keeping them longevity, keeping them moving. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Same thing with human beings as far as so I go to this gym on Monday nights and Thursday nights. I'm 55. Everybody there is 50 or older. And it's a CrossFit type gym, but it's all based on aging. Like if you stop lifting over your head, you will no longer be able to lift over your head. If you stop, there's a big correlation, big studies done, a correlation between grip strength and mortality. If your grip strength lessens, you will die a little bit younger. Talk about the similarities and some things that you have found through reading studies and doing some things that blew your mind, that was a little bit crazy when it comes to humans and dogs and the similarities.
Well, actually, one of the, probably not the best things to say, but one of the sad things is that most people, dogs are actually euthanized for two reasons. One is cancer, and that's kind of obvious, but the second is actually a lack of mobility. So most dogs are euthanized because they just can't get around anymore, and they stopped being able to get up or move around, and they're just frail. So, and that's something that is, to me, just unacceptable And we can definitely do things for those dogs. And if anyone's ever in that situation, like, no, we have tools now in veterinary medicine that we can help your dog live longer and live better. So that's certainly something. But yeah, some of the, the diseases, I don't know so much about, some of the human things. But I do know that, like, staying, thin, exercising, that's super important for both of us and our dogs.
Well, it just popped into my head just now. So think about, so if you're going to a home and you're helping with some dogs, and you have all your car full of stuff, how much assessment do you have to make of the humans, their ability to do it? And do you formulate exercise programs for the dogs? Because we know walking is good and everything, but there's got to be some other things that maybe somebody a little bit older could do to help their relatively younger dogs still stay in shape. How do you formulate those plans for those people?
So a lot of it's about the person's time and their ability to work with their dog, which is, pretty obvious. But it's, I go in, it's an elderly person, and there's no way that they could do those, figure eights between the legs. I'm not sure if you've ever seen anyone do that. It's actually part of the spine stretches that are part of that UPenn Fit to Work program, where they have you actually do figure eights between your legs. And there's no way an older person can do that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't do it. I'm too petite, and old people, they may fall down, especially a young puppy. So what I try to do is I say to myself, okay, so I want to build the dog's endurance. And so I have, what can they do in terms of walking and especially trotting or swimming? And then how do I build strength? So how do I focus on a core strength exercise? And, common core strength one will give is a plank, where the dog has to stand on two different objects. And as they're standing there, they have to stand perfectly and really use their core to engage. Or another exercise that I could suggest would be like a belly tickle. And what that means is, as you're sitting there with your dog, just coming up and almost like goosing them and the lower part of their body will actually engage their core muscles. And like, that's equivalent of someone coming up to you while you're doing a sit up and pushing on your belly and say, all right, engage your abs to just get additional, abdominal strength and abdominal contraction. And then, because like I said, it's all about the hind end a lot of times, doing backwards walks, doing squats, all those exercises are great and important to build strength. And I give, I usually say to people, listen, if you can do something 3 times a week, you could do it outside with your dog. You could do it on their walks. You could find you see a curb, do a little bit of a pause up there, do a little bit of a side step or pivot, around that, like around a curb area, and try to incorporate it into your routine. Because if, just like of us, like if we don't go to the gym a couple times a week, if we don't take the time to do it, it's not worth it if you just do it once a month for 5 minutes. You have to really do, exercises with your dogs 3 times a week. And they don't have to be very long. It could be 10 minutes max. And they could be on their walk, they could be outside. And then why I love doing it is because it actually is a great way to bond in a way that's different. It's not the dog's getting praise, he's getting treats, he's being told it's a good boy. So it's a great way for your dog to, in a healthy way, move their body, but then also to just, gain confidence and gain strength and work with you, which they want. That's what they want, is they just want to make us happy.
Do you try to incorporate any kind of like fast stops and pivots, anything like that, where the things that could, like, eventually if they don't do it, could probably blow out an ACL or anything like that? Is there any exercises you focus on that type of stuff
for ACL prevention?
Yeah.
So
that's like
basically,
$5,000 a side if that happens to your dog.
Yeah.
Well, 2 things about ACLs in dogs is we're learning now that they're a lot more genetic than we initially thought. Meaning that if you're a Labrador Retriever, you have a gene that's going to basically weaken that ligament in the knee and predispose you to get an ACL tear. Versus a Greyhound, those genetics have been bred out, so I never see them for ACL tears because genetically they're not predisposed. So there are certain breeds that are for sure, like pit bulls, shepherds and labs that are genetically good, they're going to have that weakened ligament. And the other weird thing about it is probably some imbalance between the hamstring and quad muscle strength. So dogs that actually have, weak quad muscles may also be, predisposed to getting ACL tears because they just don't have that stability around their knee. So if you want to try to do things like prevent ACLs, like doing backwards walks is one of the best things that I suggest because that's building knee stability, and pivots also that's doing knee stability as well. So yeah, certainly that's something that I have everybody do if they have a dog that they're worried about ACLs or they had surgery on one leg and they're like, please, Dr. Fishman, like we cannot afford a surgery in the second leg. I was like, all right, but you got to do exercises with your dog and they have to be so strong in those hamstrings and those quad muscles. And that's that targeted strength training, which is dog exercises.
Because for sure they're going to tear the other one. Like everybody I know, like, well,
Yeah.
this dog, I love him. I'll spend the $5,000. And then a few months later, like, son of a bitch, the other one. And I'm like, every time.
Yeah.
And it's because they're probably not.
That was my trip to Italy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
10 grand. Yeah. So,
Yeah. And actually there is an age thing with that. Actually, if you're interested, they did find out. So if you're a dog and they blow their first knee under 6 years old, they're very likely going to, have the other knees going to go as well. But if they're over 6, actually I had a client just call me yesterday and they have a 9-year-old dog that just blew its ACL. And I said, well, that sucks. Your dog's 9 and it's a senior and we're going to really have to do things to, build muscle. But the good news is they're less likely to blow the other because they're 9 years old. And if they're older, when they blow the first one, they're less likely to blow the second.
That sounds completely opposite of what you would think, because the way that, people are. So,
but it's genetic. We're realizing that is a genetic injury. So if it's something that's crazy. You genetically are predisposed and your ligament of your knee is just super weak and you blow it earlier, that means your other one on the other side is going to blow too.
It's also
because it's a genetic thing.
Well, and that's, I guess that makes sense because what we know about dysplasia too, because there's all the myths and whatever that you shouldn't let puppies run and you shouldn't let them bounce and you shouldn't let them do shit because it makes it more prone to dysplasia later on. And they figured out like, nah, if they're going to get it, they're going to get it. And it's a genetic predisposition to having a shitty hip and ball socket. I mean, that is what it is.
Amish breeders.
Yeah, well, yeah.
filling the East Coast.
I'm not even fucking going there, but
with hip dysplasia.
Yeah, so
$400 German Shepherd puppies, every one of them cancer at 5 years old.
Need a double hip endectomy by the time they're 18 months old. Looks like 2 contact lenses rubbing together. They're like, he can walk, sort of.
Yeah. I find probably like people, if the dog lives long enough, the propensity for cancer is very, very high. It seems like shepherds, every shepherd seems to get cancer, but at like 11 years old, just like they say with people, with humans, dudes, you live long enough, you're going to have some prostate
cancer. I heard that the other day, somebody I was listening to another podcast and it's kind of irrelevant which one, but they were talking about this dude went to the doctor and he's like, yo, I want to live a long time. And he said, yeah, cancer's going to get you. You're statistically in humans, it's either cancer or dementia. And I'm like, well,
yeah, I'm headed for dementia.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, so I think like my old dog, I think he's kind of got some dementia, but I mean, he just kind of walks into walls sometimes. I think whatever, he's fine. His nose works and his ears work. Yeah. So
the last thing I want to bring up is, and it's not controversial, I guess it could be on some people, is the concept and these are in my opinion, two separate things. And I asked a veterinarian in Colorado, and she gave thumbs up for one and thumbs down for the other.
Oh, I know what you're about to ask.
Chiropractic, neck cracking for dogs or animals in general, and acupuncture. Her theory was that the chiropractic was bullshit, but the acupuncture actually had some value.
I agree with that completely. Yeah, absolutely. So chiropractic, why? And it's different if you have someone who's who is a veterinarian and they're a rehab specialist and they've taken a lot of training. They really understand the anatomy of the dog and potential injuries. But the purpose of a chiropractic adjustment is to move the joint into the end range. And if there's any kind of for pain relief, right? But if there's any kind of dysfunction or potentially blown disc, it's just too much risk, and so it doesn't really, for us vets, we try to say, if you're going to do it, find someone who is a veterinarian who is certified in it, just because they understand the anatomy. And then acupuncture is something that's been really proven to be beneficial. And actually, I do acupuncture myself. I've been doing acupuncture for, like 14 years now in dogs. And I see a huge benefit. I'll have a dog and they're painful. I put acupuncture needles in them and they start to fall asleep and they're relaxed. And I've done it on horses and they, put their noses to the ground and they're, half asleep. And these would be, big race horses and ready to go, but they just get some acupuncture needles on them and noses to the ground and they're just in Zen mode. Like they can't fake that, like they're feeling something. And we know, we know it's a lot of benefits for pain relief. It's great. I love using it when I have a dog that has, really nice tight muscles. I put an acupuncture needle in there and do a lot of pain relief, and it's a great tool.
So the acupuncture is all designed like muscle pain, ligaments and stuff, or is it get into skeletal stuff, or is it all kind of intertwined?
Well, I mean, there's a couple. It's mostly, or one of the direct ways is if you have like a muscle knot, so muscular skeletal. But then there are other weird things with acupuncture. So, for example, the C bands. You've seen those C bands that people put on if they're for nausea? Do you know what I'm talking about? They're like little. So you see them even at CVS or at drugstores, but they're little wristbands. It looks like a watch. And then there's a little pressure point on the inside of your wrist.
Oh yeah.
And what that does, So
they
those
sell
are
them for like nausea for like, okay.
So anyway, that's an acupuncture point that you're working on. So that is an acupuncture point called PC6. And we also know in dogs that if they are nauseous, you can press in that point and it'll actually help relieve nausea. So like, how does that working? That's totally bizarre. Like how is, doing one little point on your wrist, it's not even near the stomach, like how is that preventing nausea? So in addition to the musculoskeletal stuff, it's also some other things that it's regulating our internal organs in some way, probably through the nervous system and doing stuff internally too.
Yeah, that's the thing with like social media now and influences everything. And you see a vet at the zoo cracking a giraffe's neck. I'm like, no, I'm not buying that. But also, I don't know. So,
yes.
The giraffe looks good. I like when they crack the neck of like some big pitty or a Rottweiler, and he looks at them like he's about to rip their skulls off. But yeah, so there's a lot of people now trying to make businesses out of that stuff. And so before we wrap up and stuff, where are you headed? Where do you think we're going with some of this stuff?
Well, I think that we are no longer going to be neglecting the physical body anymore. I think that we're going to be seeing, puppy classes now that are going to be focused on not just obedience training, but on fitness training. And then also continuing through a dog's life, not just letting them be weekend warriors and, run hot and be injured, but really focusing on injury prevention. And then also like being able to offer older dogs a better quality of life, because we now know that there's so much we can do for them as they age, and we don't have to accept them, to be frail and to be painful. We have a lot that we can do. So that's my hope for, my area of veterinary medicine. This area is relatively new. It's been around not as long as radiology or neurology or other things like that. But we're just at the start of it, and a lot of stuff to learn, a lot of interesting things with stem cells and regenerative medicine. And it's a cool field to be part of. And I think there's going to be a lot of stuff for people and to give their dogs and, give them great lives.
I'll be actually curious about the stem cell part with dogs.
Alicia's brother, Eric and I's business partner, and the producer of the podcast, whatever, Alicia and Torchlight, her brother lives in Arkansas, but he works for a company that sells like animal stem cells, like for dogs and for cows, or horses or something. I don't know what it is, but he sent me some for Lek, and I took him to the vet. Our vet is like right next to the kennel, and she's awesome, Dr. Bone. And they it seemed to help. I don't know. I mean,
they will help. Absolutely.
Well, and I guess they're really expensive. He sent it to me. He's like, "Here, try these out." And then he sent me. I was like, "Yeah, how much are they?" He was like, $1,200. I'm like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
I was like, "All right, like for like a treatment or for a year." And he was like, "You should probably need it." He told me like 6 months or something. And I'm like, yeah, we'll see. But it seemed to help a little bit, I mean, for sure. But I don't know anything about it other than, like, I was kind of flipping through something on here about a local vet that does. I guess she has the same certification you do, the CV. What is it?
CVA?
The CVA,
No.
so
Yeah, that one.
the CCRT, so that's a rehab certification.
Yes, and she's got those as well, and she does some like acupuncture stuff, and I'm like, I may take the old man down there and let her poke on him.
Yeah. Take the old man down there, get him on the Myos pet, get him moving, and I think that he'll be good, feeling better.
All right. One last question before we go through like how to contact you is it true? Are cows just like giant dogs? Because I want a couple mini cows in my house.
What?
Mini
I
cows?
do.
You
Yes.
just got. What do you want a mini cow?
My wife says no, but I'm like, you can put a diaper on them. They're just big dogs.
I don't know.
I don't know
anything
shit about
mini
cows. No,
I don't know about
I
that.
don't know.
I think mini cows still poop like big cows.
Yeah, and cow poop is like the worst thing on the planet.
Oh,
Yeah.
why are horses afraid of everything? Them big bastards shouldn't be
what?
afraid of anything. Horses, they're afraid of
Horses?
everything. They're 1,000 pounds. You should dominate, but a leaf
They're big
blows
prey
through and
animals.
what's
Yeah,
that?
they're prey
huge
They're prey animals. They're
I also want a mini
grazing
donkey.
prey animals. All right, well, I can
I want a
accept
mini
that.
donkey.
That's a mini donkey is actually he could live in the house, and that could be a good relationship for
All right,
your family,
see?
maybe.
You probably just got me a mini donkey because I
don't
got a
even-
guy who breeds them.
I don't even
know.
want kids living in my house. I'm not letting a fucking donkey live in here. That's not
The
happening.
problem is that the lake I live at, the HOA, I don't think you can have wild animals. We do have a lady with a monkey, but I think she had to move. So
Yeah, well, and they
Because of
also
the
bray a
monkey?
lot, so
yeah. She has a monkey. She moved. I'll have to tell the story. There's a whole story one day that monkey got loose, and it took 2 days to find him. They brought a monkey club in so the dog could, or the monkey
monkey
could smell.
club?
Oh, it was fucking wild, dude. It's a great story. So
People.
So
I thought I had strange hobbies, but
yeah,
Okay.
I had a monkey. It's horrible. It's
I know you
absolutely
had a monkey.
horrible.
Yeah, what's when you were a DJ? I remember that.
I also, I was working at a strip club and I had a monkey because I had piles of cash and I just was like Mike Tyson going out and buying wild animals. But I still worked nights at this club and at the beach, and I should not have had that monkey. It was stupid. I got scars and getting bit, tore up. It was
Yeah.
terrible.
I'm out on that.
bear monkeys can be terrifying. What kind of monkey was it?
He was a white-faced capuchin.
Oh, okay. That's
I got
probably
bit by
cute, but
I got bit by a
could
monkey in Thailand trying to steal my
knots and
telephone. Cell phone.
unwrap stuff and turn doorknobs and unlock doors. He defeated the baby things and that we put on there. Killed a cat. It was
I got in a fight with a monkey in Thailand trying to steal my cell phone.
seriously.
Yeah,
Those things are nasty.
dude. They would steal your cell phone and they would trade it for fruit. So like that's and so they would run up to tourists that were like taking selfies, and I just had my cell phone in my hand. I beat that monkey's ass. He bit me, and I didn't.
Of course.
yeah.
And-
I kept my cell phone though. I'm not giving him my iPhone.
His whole fingernails are covered in poop.
Yeah,
You're lucky you didn't get it infected. So, how can, if people are interested, these episodes always pique some interest in people wanting to talk to the guests. Is there a way people can get a hold of you?
they can follow me on Instagram and YouTube at Strut Animal. So I try to put all of the exercises that I've talked about today on my Instagram and YouTube. And they're easy to learn. Like the reason that these exercises are chosen is that most dogs can do them and anyone can learn them. And they're not, they're not complicated. They're easy. So certainly check out Strut Animal for my
There it is.
exercises. Yeah. So that Instagram
We got to
would
blow
be
up
great.
that Instagram. We got to get some people on there. Now, do you have the warm ups and cool downs on there too?
I won't, but I will have them up soon. So, I mean, those are pretty.
That's a good one.
Yeah, those are great. Everybody should be doing that. And then if they're interested in any of the supplements that I talked about, myospet.com, that's where that is. The Fortitropin fertilized egg yolk and probiotics, find what works for you. And collagen as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Myos, MYOS, right?
Yep.
That's right. MYOS pet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right now, Myos.
Ted,
Yeah.
what about you? If somebody want to get a hold of you,
Ted_Summers on Instagram, working_dog_radio on Instagram, and then HRD Police Canine, letter K number 9. I've got an HRD next month in Edmonton, Canada, Edmonton, Alberta, which should be interesting. And speaking of which, I figured out how to get into the country, and you can tell them that you're speaking at a conference, and they give you a 5-day.
Yes, I had to do that in Vancouver. I think I did that.
So you then they don't ask you like, oh, are you working? You're like, well, not really. Yes and no. So then it becomes like the Border Patrol doesn't mess with you. So
Got it.
So the Canadian Border Patrol, which is notoriously not very nice. Of course, they're going to see this episode and they're going to ask me about it. Watch next month. They're going to be like, "Hey,
you
we heard you talking shit.
glove test.
You're going back to Minneapolis."
They're like, snap the big gloves on. Come here, son.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, Torchlight K9, letter K number 9 on everything. And the Torchlight Pets, if you want to see. We got a bunch of pets right now, too. A bunch of little dogs. And then we've got some mixes that are just assholes and have bitten people, have bitten me, or tried to bite me. I'm faster than that, though. So, yeah. And you're at the normal places, yeah?
Yeah, Van S K9 on Instagram, Van S K9 Academy on Facebook, workingdogradio.com. You can get all our T-shirts and different things. We have some pretty funny stuff up there. And go to Amazon, search my name. There's my name written right on the bottom of my thing there. Search my name. My book's up there. It's $15. It's a bestseller in every category now that it's in. Thank you very much, folks. I'm selling about 10 to 15 books a day since the end of October, so it's run pretty good. It's e-collar without conflict for pets and working dogs.
I may just start giving it to my dual purpose handlers.
Yeah, some people are doing that too. I've been buying them and giving them. I
know
know
give them a bunch of other shit anyway. So
a couple of the Ridgeside locations are buying them, give them out to their clients when they get them. And the book is half of it's e-collar, the other half is to fix the relationship that you've messed up with you and your dog. Sometimes through no fault of your own. Just you don't know what you don't know. So. Doc, great having you on. I always like these things because we legitimately don't know shit about any of it. So our questions are legit. Like I'm always surprised. I always learn things. And I learned a lot. I took notes. I almost never take notes. I got notes here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. One of my trainers has an awesome little corgi. For a gift, I'm going to go buy her one of those little tests.
Yes.
So he's 2, so she can stay ahead of it.
I found it. It's on easy-dna.com, by the way.
Easy-DNA?
EASY-DNA.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, degenerative DM test is $69. I found it. Here, I'll send you the link.
DNA.com.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
$69.
So thank you. Keep up what you're doing, man. You're doing different stuff, so that's cool. You still got to scratch by cats and all the other crap that comes along with your line of work, but I like that you kind of specialized in some things, and
yeah, it's a great
we
job.
got to get
Very
more.
lucky.
We got to try to get you in for some. I might try to get you in for a seminar or speak at couple of these conferences on the East Coast if you don't mind.
Yeah, I would love that.
All working dogs, so you can talk about what they need to be doing to get that dog to that end state and beyond.
Yeah,
I
sounds cool.
don't want that dog that retires and you're taking a board guessing on when he's going to die, and it's within a few months, because I always say large dogs get sicker because they lay around too much.
Yeah. Most veterinarians' answer is just to pump them full of Rimadyl.
Yeah, no,
super good on their kidneys.
Absolutely not. No.
Super good on their kidneys, I hear. So, yeah.
But thanks everybody for keeping up. We got more great episodes coming at you. But Dr. Kelly Fishman, thank you.
Thank you.
I just followed you on Instagram. I'll go follow your page on YouTube. Is it you talking on there? You're showing stuff, or?
Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
Excellent.
Cool.
Thank you so much, guys. It was great to talk to you.
Yep. Have a good day, guys.
Thanks.
You too.